But I had a very refreshing morning run in the rain with a big group, so that was fun and fully enjoyed last night, of course, and I think you also have, right? We have these posters up to acknowledge all of our volunteers in the association. But actually, at the moment, as a board and as volunteers, we're putting a lot of time in. But the people putting even more time in are the people in headquarters. And I think what we've seen thus far, and we're now entering sort of the home stretch today, just a little bit longer, is again an excellent, more than excellently organized and executed annual conference. So for all of the people in headquarters, I want a big, big thanks and a big round of applause. And if you're still a bit sleepy, let's have a look at what happened yesterday, actually. Yeah, that was an amazing night. I have some things to draw your attention to. First of all, our thematic event 2025 will be on the 18th and 19th of September. Museum of Science in Barcelona, Cosmocaixa. Registration will be open soon. And actually from the conference, all the PowerPoint presentations will be shared at the end of the conference. So now we're going to move into our plenary. Okay, yeah, the computer has a mind of its own, of course. So I would like to introduce the speaker for the plenary. We're going to be interactive, right? So yeah, I will announce you as speaker, but you'll be having plenty of room to ask questions as well. So Trine Bartholdy, Chief Business Officer, Bio-Innovation Institute in Denmark. Trine has over 20 years of experience in life sciences, working in her favorite place between the intersection of life science and business. She's part of the executive leadership team leading the venture creation department. The team is responsible for scouting, sourcing, the due diligence, and providing acceleration expertise to startups and scientific projects. Your team runs the company creation program BioStudio, as well as selective centers of excellence to drive innovation in specific areas of high unmet need, including women's health, but also brain health and biosolutions. Prior to joining BII, Trine worked as an investment director at Sunstone Life Sciences Ventures, investing in health tech and pharmaceuticals. And you spent 6 years in Novo Nordisk working with the strategic planning of the R&D portfolio within both metabolic diseases and research into obesitas. And you initiated Novo Nordisk's digital health journey. You've been a CEO in 2 clinical organizations within women's health. You hold a Master of Science in Finance and Accounting, Copenhagen Business School, a certificate in pharmaceutical drug development from the European Center of Pharmaceutical Medicine in Basel. And I'll let you take the floor and explain more of all the interesting stuff you're doing. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. Do you have a clicker for the slides then? Well, it's a real pleasure being here. I will, and thank you for that very nice introduction. All right. And before I get started, I just want to say it's my first time here at ASTP, and a default thank you to Karin, because you invited me. And I have to admit, I had never heard about ASTP, even though I've been this long in the business. So I feel a little bit guilty about that, but I just want to say it's been an amazing 1.5 days, and I think this group is so empowered. I also had that notion yesterday when I was sitting in the panel talking about entrepreneurship. This power we have in this room is amazing. Having the best universities, the breadth of universities, especially from Europe and adjacent countries as well, of course. It's so powerful, especially these days. I think you all heard what happened to Howard now, and let's celebrate the strength we have in our science here in Europe. So just a big hand to all of you, if you don't mind. And then, of course, a special one to the ASTP organizers. I think you're doing a marvelous job here. It's driven by passion and dedication to your profession. That's quite clear. And then to people, that's also clear. So I have the privilege today to talk a little bit about a special thing we have been doing at Bioinnovation Institute. You heard Sylvia and Karen talking about yesterday morning how we need to create alliances, how we need to maybe work in new ways across borders, across universities, across organization, public-private, private-private, public-public, I don't care. But whatever that makes sense to strengthen the innovation channel, we are all working on to strengthen. And women's health is actually an example of that. I don't think we knew that when we started it in BII for like 3 years ago, but it has actually become a little bit of a poster child in how one can actually do to drive innovation in an area of high unmet need, where there may be a fragmented system, and I'll get back to you on that. So I think the title was Solutions for the Other Half. I think it's Solutions for the First Half, obviously. I just want to say, some of you may have heard a little bit, because I think over the last 2 years at least, awareness has increased that there is something missing when it comes to solutions for women. And I'm not saying that's not the case for men. It certainly also is. That's not what I'm here today. I just want to say, in general, on the gender specificity, when it comes to medical or treatment solutions, we do have a gap. But I'm here to talk about the female part, if that's okay. So just a bit of background. Bioinnovation Institute, what on earth is that? We were created back in 2018 by our dear friends at the Novo Nordisk Foundation, who had the vision and boldness to see that there was a huge well, actually a bridge missing between academia and commercial investors. Who would do all that hard work working closely with the universities, the PIs, the TTO officers, and help them spinning out companies, making that bridge to make the startup a fundable, investable startup? Because that's a lot of hard work. And even though I've been a venture capitalist, as you heard, I have been surprised about how much work that actually goes into creating the startups, because we don't see that as a typical venture capitalist. We just see a team that's already working, a company with a first proof of concept data, a licensing agreement with the university, that's all tick, tick, tick. But there's a lot of work going in before that, and you of all people know that as well. So consider BII to be that bridge between academia, working closely with you, your officers, and your best researchers. That's our job. And then we translate that startup, mature it, and then eventually get it funded, hopefully, and a successful startup. We are non-for-profit. And that's a huge advantage, not only because it's completely impossible to make money in the segment we are in, I have to say, because we are so early and it's so risky. Without having extra funding to invest on top so we could follow on with the new investors coming in, we cannot make money in this field. It will be very difficult. We do have some returns, I may get back to that. It's not like we haven't made money, we do, but then it's recirculated into our foundation. So Novo Nordisk Foundation then granted us around $500 million back in 2021, and we were being set as an independent foundation, beneficiary foundation. So that's where we are today. Independent, we had a little bit of laugh about that yesterday with Charlotte, because of course we cannot be independent when we have one sponsor coming with $500 million. That will not work, but we are extremely happy and proud to be part of the Novo Nordisk Foundation. If you don't know what it is the principal holder of the Novo Nordisk shares. And Novo Nordisk Foundation has the size of the Bill and Melinda, well, not only Bill, only Gates Foundation, yes. So it's one of the largest foundations in the world, so we should be very proud of having such a foundation in Europe. Now, so we are an incubator, we are also an institute, and we are also an accelerator, and we do both company creation and we do venture development. We support/create around 35 new startups and projects, translational projects every year. We put out 30, sometimes 40 million euro into these startups every year. And so far we have awarded, well, these data are not, well, 150 million euro. We have 3 programs, and BioStudio is the earliest one. This is, I don't know, do we have any people from KU Leuven in here? Yeah. Do we have Oxford? Yep. Do we have EMBL? Nope. But this was just to mention a few of the universities we're already working in the BioStudio. We also have David Baker Lab from Washington University, MIT, and a few others, and then of course all the Danish ones. So BioStudio, this is quite a unique program. It's a 3-year grant-based program where we intend to work closely with the PI and a university, allowing the PI as well as the IP to stay on the university. We hire in an entrepreneur in residence. We discussed what that is yesterday. That's a project director who also has both scientific and commercial skills. And they build up a research team in my organization, actually, and then they take the project, working closely with the host university as well as the PI to mature a translational project into becoming a startup within 3 years. So this is what I call company creation. And within the next 2 months, I think we will have the first 2 spin-outs from that program, as it is 3 years old now. It's 3 million euro over 3 years, and it's heavily milestone-based, so we will also close down projects if they don't meet milestones. You always need to be able to do that, right? Venture Lab, that's our more traditional acceleration program. We have 2 calls every year. We have just closed 1 call and done the due diligence and selection process. So we are about to invite 10 new startups into our community, where they will also receive entrepreneurial training and funding, access to our labs, which is important over here, because you both get the funding, you get access to our vet dry labs. We have the network with investors you will be exposed for very early on, and industry, and knowledge that we will both build with the teams through training, but also that we give them access to our amazing BII staff who has a lot of knowledge all together. So these 4 legs, I firmly believe, in order to be a really good startup hub, accelerator, you need in some way or the other to facilitate these 4 ones, because they need all 4 of them. As I said, we work very closely with universities, hospitals, industry, founders, and other innovators, like-minded souls. Since the inception, what have we achieved? We have made more than 120 startups. You can actually see there's a little bit of a BII effect. I was in another conference last week. We saw a McKinsey report showing all the countries, and it's in terms of number of startups, and it's quite clear that after 18, something happened in Denmark. I don't think I can take all the sort of credit for that on behalf of BII, but there has certainly been an effect, no doubt about it. And what is also important, how do we measure success as a non-for-profit organization? That can be difficult, but one way we can measure whether we are successful is in terms of how much money are our startups getting from commercial parties. So we can see we have a leverage of 7.5 times. So for every euro we have given a startup, they have in average been able to raise 7.5 euro from commercial funds. We also have 7, that's actually going towards 10 products launched. That's primarily within our planetary health team. And we have right now, I think we have 8 products in the clinic from our therapeutic group. So that's also something we measure. But as you know, therapeutic as well as biosolutions can take between 8 and 12 years from start to launch. So we don't have so much data on that yet, but it will for certain come. Now, women's health. So we are predominantly a life science incubator right now. We do have deep tech, quantum coming as well, but it's still early days, so maybe I can share that at another time. But we could see a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, based on the mission we have, which is to translate world-leading science into actual solutions to meet the unmet need with people and society, we could see that there was one really huge gap, women's health. We saw some data from Forbes magazine and other sources, Nature as well, talking about that only 1 to 2% of research funding and development funding is going into women's health. 1 to 2%. That was the first eye-opener. Then I started to reflect a little bit, and I actually came to the conclusion I'm part of the problem. And why is that? That is because I'm one of 40 to 60% of women who does not tolerate hormones. That means I've never had the prevention pill, that most women will take, but you will be surprised how many actually does not tolerate it. And I never questioned it. And I think a lot of us in this room, also my own generation, we never questioned the solutions. We were used to saying, okay, just live with it. Live with the pain, live with, you don't have any solutions. Because it was not mortal, and I'll come a little bit back to that. It was just something part of life, you have to live with it. So I'm also part of the problem, at least in my own opinion. So we started to look further into it. 195 million women suffer from endometriosis. I will not go into the details of the diseases here. I just want to say it's extremely, it's extremely painful, and not only is it sort of a really low quality of life. I know young women who has to go home from school because it's so painful they cannot go to school. infertility, just really low quality of life. And today, the only thing you are being asked to do is to take a traditional painkiller, more or less. So there's no treatment. And in average, it takes between 7 and 10 years for women to be diagnosed because there's also a lack of diagnostic tools, biomarkers, simply. Infertility, 1 out of 6 people are affected by this. And actually, what you also know, 1/3 is actually because of the man. It's not because of the woman, but it's still the woman who needs to go through all the hardship of the IVF. Then we have the heart diseases. Women have 7 times as higher risk to be maldiagnosed from heart diseases than men. Our vessels are smaller. Our physiology is different. And the traditional diagnostic path is based on male models. So it's the mortality factor number 1. It's mortality factor number 1 when it comes to diseases for women. And I think very few people know that. When it comes to CNS, it's the same. We have 75% of Alzheimer's disease, that's women. Not only because we get older, there are clear emerging understanding now that it has something to do with the hormonal path as well. But just to say, there are a lot of things here that stands out where we don't have any diagnostic tools nor treatments today. So what is women's health? You can say we have all the traditional ones, the gynecological diseases, PCOS, menopause. By the way, 1 billion women will be in menopause before 2030. So, you know, if anyone ever tells you there's not a market, that's not true. Maternal health, of course, and women's oncology. Then we have the reproductive health, contraception, infertility, and the diagnostic tools for sexual transferred diseases. We have conditions that affect females and males differently. We talked about cardiovascular diseases, CNS disorders, autoimmune diseases. So just to say that women's health is not only the female things, it's also where we represent ourselves differently or disproportionately. So we thought about, okay, we as a research translational institute, giving our mission from the Novo Nordisk Foundation, we need to look further into this. What can we do? How can we do something meaningful here? So we set ourselves the objective to strengthen the women's health innovation ecosystem. I'll get back to that. Key activities would be to support new technologies through our programs, creating new startups, as well as raise awareness, because when we started 3 years ago, 3.5, nobody really talked about it. It has really emerged. And then we really wanted to have the ambition of being the leading innovation hub for women's health in Europe. And our advisors are saying you should go globally, but let's see. That also requires some funding. But this was the basic premise we set ourselves the task to do. So before diving into our model, a little bit on the challenges. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to chip in. I will also make certain we have some time at the end. So the good thing is, during the last couple of years, a lot of reports from credible resources have come out. It's McKinsey, it's Nature, it's Forbes, it's Silicon Valley Bank. So there are a lot of literature and data now, because we have also lacked data to really understand what's going on here. So why has this been considered a bad business case? Well, we thought we had good treatment until we learned how gender affects treatment outcome and safety, right? So we thought, as I said, I'm part of the problem. I thought, okay, we have the treatments. I cannot be treated for everything, but some things I can be treated for. We don't dare to treat women who are in, either they're pregnant or if they are in the childbearing age. So they are highly underrepresented in trials. That's another thing. Conditions that don't kill you. This is another issue. Life quality, low quality of life because of pain or whatever. That doesn't really count when it comes to investing in new diseases, apparently. Because you can ask, I mean, even a hangover is considered as being a disease, and we have treatments for it. So sexual dysfunction for men, not for women, is apparently also considered as an important disease, but not for women. So again, there are solutions out there for low quality of life, but not so many for women. The last thing, we actually don't understand it, and this is why I'm so happy to be here with all of you, because there's such a huge lack of basic research. We don't understand the female biology and physiology. It's not well understood when it comes to all these diseases, so there's so much work to be done. And that's also why I think we are at least 10 years away from having some sort of a balance when it comes to also having solutions to offer for women, because basic research is missing. And we can see that when we go out, reach out to a lot of the universities to find the best PIs out here, research is so fragmented. So then we did a gap analysis because we want to show return on investment. We are not here just to do good. We are actually here to show it's also good business for the investors. And we could quickly see when we started to talk with the established VCs that has funded a lot of our companies, then we could see that this basic knowledge and data lack was an issue for them because they did not really understand the physiology. Research, where are the validating data? It's again, lack of that part. And then when we go to the regulatory path with the FDA, EMA, here we lack a lot of good guidelines as well. And lastly, but not least, model systems. Because until very recently, everything was tested in male mice. I mean, I'm talking about everything. Even for endometriosis, which only affects women. Because, female mice are just complicated, right? It's only recently one of our very good CROs, which I'm very happy, Gubra in Denmark, they have actually just claimed that they want to start to build up models for women's health as well. And we were being asked to give them advice as well to get that going. So I'm really happy to see that as well, because we need translational models here. And all this is limiting the investment. The investors simply don't understand the space. Normally investors, they can put something into an Excel sheet, a bit of risk rates and stuff, and then they have their net present value. But for this one, they have no idea. So we are still talking a lot to them to make it happen. Commercial uptake is another issue, because investors, in order for them to go in and fund any of the companies you are also spinning out, they will always look at what is the exit potential. And exit means, how can I sell the startup and make money? You can do that normally in two ways. Either that you sell it to the large industry, the pharmaceutical industry, or you take it to the public stock exchange. Now, we only have 2 companies within women's health globally. It's Organon and it's Ferring in Denmark. That's it. And they predominantly do stuff within IVF and reproductive health, and not so much else. So that's an issue. Who will be the commercial uptake here? Because we have so few cases. Now the good thing is, there's also a completely wide space out there when it comes to market. As you heard in the introduction, I've also worked in Novo Nordisk, also during the obesity time and with the diabetes portfolio. And diabetes is crowded unless you come with a real cure. So I can tell you, whatever you do in the diabetes field, you have to be extremely concrete in what the differentiators will be before you invest in a new product, which will cost $1 billion and take you 10 years with a high risk rate. But for women's health, the bar is so low. So I really hope that more people will see the opportunities here. Not that I can compare it completely, but when I was in Novo Nordisk, this was also the first time we started to look into obesity. And there was no market. The market size was $100,000 when we had to make the phase 2. That's for clinical people. But when we had to make the phase 2 decision for semaglutide, which is behind Wegovy. So we also based it on, okay, what will be the market size? How will this develop? And I think history shows that if you do something right and you build a market, you can do it. And I hope a little bit of the same can one day happen for women's health in one of the important indication areas. We will see. But all this just means that we lack a lot of treatment and diagnostic tools out there. So a bit of data. This is from NIH through the McKinsey report. So NIH is the US research funding organization. And here you can see that 4% of their budget goes to the oncology area for women's health, which is good. Only 1% goes to all the other topics I just mentioned. 1% out of the US budget. And I'm sorry if there are any Americans in here, but given the new administration over there, I wonder if both the 1% and the 4% will be eradicated. We'll see. But the numbers does not look good. The other thing, I like to share some, share some data as well, and not just words. But if we look at, I missed that. That's because I had to do it in a PDF. This was actually an animation. You would see that the lethal indications, the oncology, they hit a number of 200 assets currently in the pipeline up here. And then if we go to menopause, endometriosis, etc., they're right out here with 5 to 10 products in development. And it's just to demonstrate that the lethal or the indications with high mortality, they are being well funded and have traction, but it's all the rest that really needs some investment behind them. And this will then be the same. That's my bad. I did not think of that. But another data is that, and that was a study out of Denmark, that women are being diagnosed much later than men for more than 700 diseases. And again, it's because we don't understand how we work. Over here, you would also have, yeah, I'm really sorry. But we also see that we have drug withdrawals of a multiple of 3.5 times as high because of women side effects as compared to men. Again, understudied. So what is needed? Invest in women's health research. This is for all of you. And if you see some great researchers in your institutes, sometimes they may actually need some extra help because there are so few role models out there. I'm quite certain in the oncology space, even in the central nervous system space, they are the good researchers will know that there is a high chance for them to actually create a startup if they want to. But for women's health, because there are so few role models, they often need extra help. So be attentive to that. Improved data collection. There should be golden times for that because we have so much data out there. So if we can work better on that, even from a European level, to start to harvest the existing data sets we have and try to get some meaningful out of it from a gender balance perspective. And then also encourage innovation and develop new financing models. We need some extra funding in for women's health, at least still for now, until we have really convinced the investors. It is emerging. We will see it happen. And also enhance access to women-specific care, because that's still lacking, especially in certain countries where you have a high balance in the social, what do you call it, from an economic perspective. US, for instance, have if not the highest death mortality rate for women during pregnancy and giving birth. And it's simply because of the imbalance in their social security system. So we have to look at that as well. And then, of course, we do need to implement supportive system, even from the regulatory perspective. Now, What exactly did we do? And this is, hopefully also a little bit of inspiration what we can do when we talk about creating alliances and try to drive innovation in new areas. I talked a little bit with Sylvia yesterday. I don't know if Sylvia is here. She may be, was she on the dance floor yesterday? Maybe. But I talked a little bit with Sylvia yesterday also about this, we always say, okay, let's Europe, European Investment Bank, European something needs to do something. But sometimes we can actually also do something. So all what we did was to gather the best people across the value chain for innovation and getting started. We decided 4 legs in our strategy, of course, to create startups, at least 2 per year. So we set hard goals, at least 2 women's health startups every year. Build a dedicated expert network across the value chain and innovation channel. Establish strategic partnerships to ensure we had the safe, the good setup and strategic insights. And then we also wanted to raise awareness. And our portfolio 3 years ago, we had 1 women's health startup. Now I don't even know how many we have. I think we're taking in another 2 very soon, but we are around 12, soon going to 15, which is quite impressive. And as some of the venture capitalists are now saying to us, you have the best women's health portfolio globally already now. And this is just through pure dedication. And again, I just want to highlight and shout out to KU Leuven, because Cure Me is actually a project we have together with them. It's in our BioStudio program, and it's organoids for target discovery to treat endometriosis. So it's a difficult one, but it's based on really strong science and a good collaboration. So hopefully we can create a spin-out within a few years for that one. So the network I talked about, and this is what we can all do, right? We can get together with the best people, leading academics, Aris from Oxford, Hilary Quicklick from Edinburgh. Do we have anyone from Edinburgh, by the way? Nope. That's one of the real strong universities within women's health. Linda Griffith from MIT, and then we work with a lot of other people, but these are the people guiding us on strategy at least once a year. The key industry, we have Ferring, we have Organon, and Bayer as well, who wants to join in. And the good news is we are increasingly getting calls from the really big pharma players, also from the US, I mean the really, really big ones, who wants to know how they can include a women's health strategy in their existing portfolio. So I don't expect them to build up a women's health franchise per se, but that they will start to include women's health in their cardiovascular portfolio, maybe their cardiometabolic portfolio or whatever. So hopefully we will see more pharma companies coming in. And then of course we have a lot of VCs and entrepreneurial experts there as well. And I just want to say this has worked beautifully. And if you ever are thinking about a specific area of high unmet need where you want to build extra focus, put at least 2 dedicated people who only work on that in your team, create this network, think about what the gaps are in that innovation channel, and then you will actually see wonders. We did this in 2 years, and I'm so impressed by the team who ran it. So this is something we can do, and it has created a little bit of a poster child for BII as well. We will do the same for brain health. We will do it for infectious disease. We will do it for cardiometabolic diseases. So we want to drive more innovation in specific areas of high unmet need together with industry partners and leading universities and PIs. We also formed a couple of strategic partnerships where we got some extra funding in. And that was from, well, back then, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, now only the Gates Foundation, and Ferring as well. So without these partners, we could not have moved so far as fast as we did. So if you can get industry partners in early on as well, really important. They help on due diligence, they do mentoring of and support to the startups, explaining what preclinical path is, the good models, etc. So they help them on the development journey as well. Then the awareness, we have been around. I mean, on the university visits, we have been at Edinburgh, of course, Copenhagen, Aarhus, King College, Yale University, Berlin, Charité, Zurich, Cambridge, and probably also a few more. So we really enjoy going out to the universities where there is a keen interest to look into more research within women's health. We have also been around presenting at various conferences, including the one down here, which is actually me sitting in New York Stock Exchange at Wall Street, discussing how to invest in women's health together with Jill Biden. Back then, that was the old administration. There is a big group in the US who is really trying to drive this agenda as well. I saw they were at Washington, D.C. yesterday. There was a great group photo from them. So I have told them we will continue the fight here in Europe, and they just continue the best they can, and then hopefully in 3.5 years or so, we can really start to drive more important stuff from over there. But there is a very important group working on it from the US side as well. We have also been included in hearing on women's health in the Danish parliament, etc. And I just want to say, normally BII is not politically involved, but in this case we have actually. We have been part of raising the awareness. So, key takeaways. It is underfunded. I hope you got that. Yeah? Was that clear? Underfunded. Very fragmented innovation ecosystem. It's actually an interesting data also for you to know is that we did a landscape analysis within Europe to see where is the research taking place in which universities with which PIs in Europe. That was one thing that was interesting, that it was very fragmented and we have too few. The other data that's interesting is actually that we could see a huge difference in the ratio between publications and IP activity. It is half for the women's health research groups. And I think one of the reasons is that people don't think they can actually create a startup. Why would I care about the commerciability? I'm only here to do research and gain knowledge in the women's health field. And I think that's a huge surprise. And this is also why I think we need many more role models out there, also in academia, to say, you know what, great research, great data, strong science, let's make a startup out of this. They need that role model. I also say, as I said, lots of opportunities to create impact and return on investment. Another financial term up here. But this is important. We do want to show that you can be wealthy from creating a startup in women's health and investing in it, because that will drive increased interest. So let's make those good cases. And the good news, as I say, is that we do see increased interest, but we still see most of the VCs a little bit on the fence. And the same with the industry, but we do see increased interest. So if we are in there early, we start to drive more research, I think we will be in a good place from Europe. So what can you do? I mean, my call to action for all of you, see if you can do more research at your universities. Are there any researchers that are within women's health that actually need a little bit more help? Then maybe they need you to reach out more than the other way around. Early and more handheld support to researchers. We have spent a lot of time doing that. I mean, really taking them in their hand, even helping them negotiating with the TTOs. That's also sometimes our task. And then, of course, you can help by creating awareness. You can also help by engaging with relevant local and international ecosystems, just as I discussed here. I mean, let's not think that we only depend on our own small organizations. Look at the power we have in this room. If we added a few of industry experts, a couple of investors, then you should see things happening. And as always, just do something. Just think about what you can do to drive more innovation in this important place. And let's see if we can make Europe a leading innovation hub for women's health. So, poor picture, but Sanne is leading off the Women's Health Initiative at BII. If you have any questions, you can reach out to her, or you can reach out to me as well. My email is easy, as I explained to someone yesterday. It's to be announced, TBA, Trine Bartholdy, so it's TBA@BIIDK, but you can certainly also reach out to Sanne. And if you want to know more, we both have, I mean, you can just look up McKinsey reports, and you can look up Silicon Valley. Nature has good articles on gender-balanced research. So there are a lot of sources from the last couple of years with really good and supporting data. I am doing quite well on time. Yeah, I think my clock has sort of stopped, so 20 minutes. Great. So can I ask something? Who of you have ever supported a researcher within women's health? Oh, this is good news. Yeah? Can I put you on the spot? Yeah? Which company and what was the journey you went through?
It was actually on your slide. It's Notify, Karin Lykke Hartmann, who is a professor now at Aarhus University, who is working in fertility, and she's a great role model. And I know the business developer who worked very, very closely with Karin through her journey, Morten. He's here somewhere as well.
Where's Morten? Maybe
recovering, apparently. Anyway, but it was a huge decision for Karin to make the decision to actually spin out and go that route. She was leading a research group. She's a mother. She was doing all sorts of things, trying to find out.
Turn around. I think it's a good story to share.
Just it actually took her a few years to decide that was the route. She also had the opportunity or discussions to go the licensing route. Turned out that it was too early, immature technology. Again, was there a company out there willing to take that risk? But she did decide to go the route, and she's great at it. And she's now actually really being a very active role model within the Aarhus ecosystem. So she's become, there's a program in Aarhus, Distinguished Senior Innovators, I think they're called. And she is the Faculty of Health senior innovator. So she's now promoting being an entrepreneur and making that leap as well. And she's continuing her research into women's health and infertility. And I think there might be new things on the way from her, maybe. So, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, Annette Miltoft. Until the end of January, I was the head of TTO at Aarhus University in Denmark, which is a full-service university and with an adjacent university hospital.
And we had one more who had, yes. And start with introducing yourself.
Yes, of course. My name is Matthias Kuhn. I work at the University of Geneva, Switzerland. I'm also head of the Swiss Technology Transfer Association. So I'll just mention a case that we supported in Geneva that I was not in charge of, so I will not be able to give a lot of details. But it's a company called Testmate Health by Suvina Sahi, and it's actually disposable testing kits for STDs. At home, no lab needed. So there is a license, and she launched this company. We're very proud of this case.
And were you aware of sort of her considerations in the transition? Did you discuss this is a difficult area, or how did it go about? You don't know. Do we have an yes?
I'm Sally Cudmore, the Director of Innovation in University College Cork in Ireland, and we have an adjacent unit to us called the Health Innovation Hub, and they've taken a very proactive approach to women's, what they're calling femtech. So we have 3 spin-outs potential spin-outs that are going through at the moment. One called FemBiome, which is looking at the gut, primarily the gut microbiome, the link with the brain, and trying to develop natural supplements, particularly for women in menopause. We have another project called Fetal Safe, which is looking at trying to develop non-invasive methods of detecting fetal stress during labour, and a third project called Clish the Probe, which is a bioimpedance sensor for breast cancer. So 3 different femtech projects coming through at the moment.
That is quite impressive, and it also shows the breadth in terms of the needs we have out there. And I just want to touch point on, you used the word femtech. I have stopped using that word for a very simple reason, and it is because it started to be, at least from an investment perspective, started to be a little bit associated with doing lifestyle apps, you know. And we don't want to get into that. I want to talk about the clinical evidence-backed solutions, and that's why I have tried to avoid it. But I certainly fully recognize the value introducing femtech had. I actually think it was a Danish woman, Ida Tin, who initiated that word. But just so you know, I will not use the word femtech, but it's not because I don't believe in it, it's because I don't want to send the wrong message to the investors. So, one more case.
Ina, sorry, there's a question here.
Where?
Okay.
I think there are many, but from my perspective, as Robert Wilinski from University of Warsaw, the question from my side is, how do you organize the rising of projects? Do you organize some calls for them? Can we send you some proposals according to some rules, or you simply pick up what you found worldwide?
This is a good question, and thank you for raising that. We actually have a window for women's health projects coming from abroad still this year. So we will have a last call coming, Q3 something. You can find it on our webpage, bii.dk, and there you can apply for the Venture Lab. So typically in our Venture Lab, which was our acceleration program, €500,000, 1 year training and support, we require that the companies has a Danish basis, also from an executive position. But for women's health, because the science was so fragmented, as I talked to, we took the strategic choice with our board as well, that we could look outside of Denmark. So you can actually still, if they can apply this year, they can apply for our Venture Lab. Any other questions? Yes?
Thank you. I'm Mohammed Ali, coming from Australia. I've got, you touched a little bit on one slide that you went through the fundraising, everything, but how you embrace your teams and startups in terms of leadership, team building, other soft skills that they needed to have a sustainable startups when they go to the market, please?
You should have joined our panel discussion on entrepreneurship yesterday, I can tell. So a lot of the founders, I think around 60% of the founders we get in are first-time founders. So they predominantly come straight out of academia. And then they are being asked to run a team, lead a team, be a CEO, go fundraising. And it is really complicated. But we have training schedules, we have training models, both in terms of leadership, in terms of what it means to do a business case, making them pitch ready to the investors. So they go through this 12-year program, and they have access to a lot of service providers as well, legal, what have you, which are in our platform. But they still have to learn. As we also discussed yesterday, the best first-time or the best CEOs or founders are the ones that are curious, the ones that come and seek for advice, because a lot of them think they know everything. You know, they're used to that. They were the top grade student in the lab, always being praised for their lab skills, research skills. All of a sudden they are in a new field, and they sometimes underestimate it. But if they do have a curious mindset, they will grow fast. And sometimes we do need to intervene as well if we see that it's not working. Sometimes we do have to require from them that they put a person on the board with the right skills, or replace a team member. We just had one team where we had to replace the chief business officer in the team. So we do take an active role. At the end of the day, it's their own responsibility.
Thank you, Trine. I'm Laura MacDonald. I think maybe most of you know me, but I work full-time for ASTP, but maybe what you didn't know was that I used to formerly be one of you. So my background is 100% in knowledge transfer, research, and innovation support. So I would just want to ask a question, picking up some of the things yesterday. You talked about the teams and the finance and the science and the entrepreneurial side of things. And something sort of struck me that you're underrepresented on all the aspects of R&D and development of projects, as you've said, true to women's health, but also true to other areas like rare diseases and such like. So I think the model or the inspiration for how the foundation can inspire, attention to be drawn, suddenly made me think that, I don't know, we also heard yesterday morning from the plenary speakers about how actually the social sciences as scientific disciplines, as research disciplines, are super important in what we are doing collectively in developing impact. Does your foundation have kind of formal alliances or informal encouragement to harness the power of the research capacity and the voices of the social science disciplines, apart from raising awareness, but also, you talked about femtech not good for VC words. So perception and understanding and communication, a lot of that is really driven, I think, by much of the social science dimensions and disciplines. So do you have an engagement in that sense, or scope for engagement?
No, unfortunately not. We do not. Right now, our scope is within therapeutic, it's health tech, it's deep tech, it's planetary health, so biosolutions. So these are our scope. We don't do so much in that. But as I said, we have done a little bit special for women's health, as we have taken some public awareness activities upon us, but that was because we needed to. We need to start to talk about it to drive more innovation. So we will do that. I mean, I'm also here to talk about it because it's worthwhile, right? So as long as it's worthwhile and for the right audience, such as this group, then we will do it, but it's not our role per se.
I think I was also particularly referring to harnessing social sciences research for your areas of focus. So not to just look at social sciences, but actually to have them on board as the multidisciplinary partners in all that raising awareness. And I don't know, maybe that already happens in other institutions. I know what happens, for example, in Edinburgh University that you mentioned. So thank you.
Yeah, no, but I will certainly take that question with me back. That's a very good question. Coming from the Novo Nordisk Foundation, I mean, we are extremely life science based, right, Charlotte? But we are expanding the field, and I'm completely with you. Yeah?
Trine, I have a question now that I have the microphone over here. I would like to know, I did not have the chance to attend your whole session yesterday, but I would like to know whether you think there's a difference between female entrepreneurs and male entrepreneurs, and if you think there are differences, what are they? And is there a need in programs and stuff to develop perhaps special strands for female entrepreneurs? Because I know, at least from my background from the University of Copenhagen, it's very clear that most entrepreneurs are male.
Yes. There are differences, and it's not from an equity standpoint, we are not in a good place. And I don't know if I'm only talking on behalf of Denmark or Europe. Probably Europe, if not globally in general. We try to have it as part of our selection criteria when we take in projects. Now you can imagine when we take in a quantum project, how that looks like. There are typically 30-year-old men sitting there, nothing against that. But there are some teams and some of the scientific disciplines we work with that is just from the spin-out phase will be dominated by men. Now, when we then look into the female founders, and we do like to hit a 50-50 if we can, or at least ensure that at the CXO level or executive level that there are women. but it does not happen always. They typically need to learn a little bit more on the assertiveness side. And I mean, I don't know why that is, but a lot of really skilled scientists that comes out of lab, especially, I mean, now I'm talking out of prejudice, but it seems like they are being brought up just doing their best always and being the really good researcher. Now, when you go out and become a CEO in a startup team, you need to be tough and you need to be consequent. I also talked about yesterday, you need to set your team, not just to be kind to people and deliver good data. You actually need to grow a little bit of toughness. That does not only apply to women, of course, but I can see that's one of the struggles they have. So the thing we do is, it's more on a personal interaction actually. I try to be a role model within my own organization as well, being a female leader. And I encourage all my colleagues as well to make certain that female leaders who seem to be a little bit insecure, that we take good care of them. What we also have, which I also explained yesterday, is that we have these halos, which is a session once monthly for all our new startups teams, where the founders or the CEO can sit together with the other CEOs discussing their issues without us, but with a psychologist. And this actually means that they have a safe place, a safe group, where they can talk to peers about their challenges and feeling that they are not alone. And I think this is really important, that they don't feel they are alone. Oh, and the last thing, we do see, when we looked at the statistics, that the female-founded companies are still underrepresented by the VC in the investor circle as well. So I think it's somewhere between only 2 to 10% of the startups are female-founded if it gets a venture capital investment. So.
Thank you. So sticking on the theme of representation, as you were talking, I kept thinking in science and technology, women are also underrepresented in research groups. So do you expect the founders that you support, are they mostly female? Or is your call to action for femtech, sorry for using the word, does it also involve men? Because when we extend it further to patents, the situation is even more dire. I think it's less than 10% of women that are listed as inventors. I think they used PCT applications as a measure, but it's a really minuscule amount. And maybe if we are to reach this equality in 10 years, men also have to get involved from the research perspective as well.
Women has to get involved, right? Yeah. No, and there's only so much we can do as the institute we are. This is actually more a question, I think, also to all of you. And maybe, that could be an example of something that one could work on across the innovation channel. So think about if we agreed with a certain number of universities, okay, over the next 5 years, we want to see more female founders. We want to raise the female ratio on PCT applications. Think about if we try to work together with the universities, because that needs to come in during the training they take at the universities. When we see them, it's almost too late, right? So that's a call to action for all, I think.
I think it's a very interesting discussion. So Rainer Wesseldrum Cancer Research Center, I have 2 female mentees. One happens to be the main inventor of PSMA 617. And I was trained as a tank officer in the German army. And what I do in my training with the female mentees is basically saying, okay, there's 4 basic leadership principles. One, as a leader, you need brain. And I think females have the same brain capacity as men. Second, you need to have heart, because heart means to understand the other side and yourself. And that's the first most important thing. The other thing basically is you have to have humor, to laugh about your failures also. The fourth thing, and that's toughness. And I think what I've experienced is that many of the female I see are not tough enough really to suck it out, because if you're every 2 years in front of an insolvency deadline, I think this is the part where you have to go through. I also happened to be 7 years together with Özlem Türeci at Ganymed before it was sold, now one of the founders of BioNTech, and she always said, I'm a Prussian Turk. You also need this kind of discipline. And I think this is something that we have to entertain. But we should not mistake that basically for an easy thing, because it's just bloody competition out there, and we have to face that. So that would be my contribution to the discussion.
But it actually fitted a little bit into the experience I shared, that they need the assertiveness, and they need to be a little bit more consequent and strong in what they do, because they have been trained on just delivering good results. Maybe. It's not all, of course.
Hi, thank you very much. Philip Grother from the SNT. We're actually all responsible for what's happening and who the female leaders of tomorrow are, but it actually starts with our children. If we don't encourage young girls to take more responsibility and give them the role models, as you were saying, to say, yes, yes, you can, and stop saying, no, be careful, don't take risks, then of course, in 10, 15, 20 years, they're not going to become the leaders of tomorrow. So the generation that's currently in research, it's not a lost cause. We can all play a role, of course, but we need to be educating the young girls. In my private life, I happen to be doing a lot in female empowerment as well. My wife runs a podcast specifically towards that, which, Trine, you're going to be on. We spoke about this yesterday. This is not a blind
Yeah, I
side.
did not say yes.
Yet. But what we see, and the unfortunate conclusion that we've come to, no matter how much I do as a guy, I can empower as many women as I want, but if women don't empower women, all of my efforts are in vain. So as much as, yes, we all need to toughen out, we mustn't become soft, any of us, guys and women, but also my call to action to all of you women, please support each other. Because when we guys try and support you, but you're not supporting each other, anything I do is an absolute waste of time. So if that's controversial, I apologize. I'll still be here for a little while if you want to come and challenge me on that. But please support each other. You are not in competition against each other. And this is, unfortunately, one of the stupid traits that women think that they need to take from guys. We're dumb. We're violent. We're the quote-unquote killers, right? But you don't have to be. You can be nurturing and you can support each other. So it wasn't so much a question, it was a call to action for you women. Please support each other.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was wondering if there are any scientific research that shows that women are less tough than men, because we seem to accept this statement.
No, I was asked what I see. Yeah. No, the question I got was if I saw any differences, and this is what I have seen. I would also just say, being tough is one thing, but my own values, I may share that with you, even as a leader, is decency and kindness. There's no reason for why you shouldn't be decent and kind, even when you have to take the tough decision. So, I fully... And then maybe a little bit back to your comment there as well. I have always been hugely inspired by Pippi Langstrømpe, Pippi Longstockings. And I think that should only go for women, it should go for men as well, because we are in the research world, all of us are doing things we haven't done before. And then if we haven't done things before, then of course we can do them, right? So I will end with that note, also on women's health, we can do it. Let's get together, and we will see in a few years' time that there will be solutions on market. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Tina.